Welcome to Government Contractor Chat. I am Lindsay Riegelsberger, Director of Operations and Business Development for Streamline Government Contracts. Streamline helps small to mid-sized government contractors who seek experienced, effective support with contract management that reduces risks, increases profits, and enhances reputations. We do this by negotiating teaming agreements, subcontracts, preparing estimates of completion when necessary, and speaking to contracting officers in their own language. We are the proud organizers of Government Contractor Chat, and we thank you for joining us today. All right, everyone, it is time for our guest speaker. Let's welcome GovCon SME, Jennifer Schaus.
Thanks so much, Lindsay, and thanks to Karen Long and the great team over at Streamline Government Contracts. I'm really excited to be with you guys today and the Government Contractor Chat meetup group. So we usually are the ones hosting webinars and events, so it's nice to be on the other side for a change. If you're in Washington, D.C., good afternoon. If you're somewhere else, good morning or good late afternoon. So today's topic is focused on GSA schedules and is it right for my small business? And there's a spoiler alert here. There's not going to be a yes or no answer. It's going to be variable based on different factors within your company, kind of where you are in the business life cycle of your firm. So with that, let's go ahead and dig in. And I think, as Lindsay mentioned, today's presentation is being recorded. You'll get the slides and the audio as well. So just a quick blurb about me, 20 plus years in government contracting. I've got the wrinkles and the gray hair to prove it. I started my career with Dun & Bradstreet, writing credit reports on companies, and then migrated over to their government division where we were selling subscriptions to the D&B database, which is a financial database to kind of two parts of government. One was contracting officers that were evaluating the financial strength of businesses. And then the other kind of sales market for the D&B data within the federal government was for investigative reasons. So we sold to NSA, CIA, FinCEN, a lot of DOJ. DHS had not yet existed yet. That's how long ago this was. And that's really kind of where I began my government sales career. Eventually, decided corporate America was not for me, so I launched my own business, and we have three pillars here. We put on a lot of educational webinars, over 800 on our YouTube channel, absolutely free. They will put you to sleep at night, so if you've got insomnia or you just want to get caught up on government contracting, tactical topics, as well as information about the FAR, sales playbooks for the various departments and agencies. Hop over to our YouTube channel. We also put on events and conferences. We've got one coming up. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And then the consulting side of the business. So speaking of sleep, I don't think I have much time to sleep. So I mentioned events. We've got an event coming up here on Monday, this coming Monday, June 22nd. It's over at the Kennedy Center. Got a lot of great sponsors, but more importantly, you can meet with federal government departments and agencies. In fact, they are listed here. Very heavy on the DoD side. So if you're selling to DoD, we will have the small business offices from the Air Force, Defense Counter Intelligence Surveillance Agency. I've got that listed twice. Oops. Army National Guard, HHS, and more. We've got a discount code that'll save you about 25% off of the ticket price, and the registration link is there. We'll get that out to you shortly. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are based in DC and been doing this for a fairly long time. What we're going to focus on today is the piece of our consulting that helps companies with GSA schedules. There's the link to the YouTube webinars. Again, 800 plus webinars. A good chunk of them are on GSA schedules. Some of that information might be a little bit out of date as GSA schedules continue to evolve, as does the FAR. Here's some of the topics on our webinars and today's agenda. I'm not going to read through this, but I'm just going to talk about, we'll just go ahead and dig into the overview and everything else that's listed here. Having this information should then help you kind of decide if you're kind of on the fence or you're not even sure what a GSA schedule is, how it can help you. This should hopefully give you some intelligence and education about the process, the requirements, and does it even make sense for you? So the overview. First of all, who is GSA, General Services Administration? I've got here that they are a non-appropriated agency. That just means that they don't receive taxpayer funding. They are self-funded. That statement is a little bit false because they actually do receive less than 1% of funding from the government, but primarily they are funded by the GSA schedule holders that pay what's called the industrial funding fee. IFF, industrial funding fee, and that is, or that equates to 0.75% of your GSA schedule sales. So if you sell nothing through your schedule, you owe GSA nothing. If you sell millions of dollars through your GSA schedule, that would make them happy, and you would pay them 0.75% of whatever that number is that you've sold through your schedule. GSA also runs PBS, that's the Public Building Service. I'm on my kind of third bullet point here. So they oversee national parks, the buildings. They're basically the largest real estate operator of federal buildings and land. They also oversee SAM.gov, FPDS, which has been sunset, and many of the other acquisition.gov and many other government federal public websites. You'll see their GSA logo on some of the websites when you navigate to them. So just to know that that is kind of who we're dealing with. And the important piece here is that GSA, kind of at a 30,000 foot level, is motivated by the companies who they believe are going to be generating a lot of revenue through their schedule. So if you're just trying to get onto the GSA schedule, if you're a large business and you're coming in with, a brand name, they will probably hustle. Based on my experience of clients that we've worked with, they hustle a little bit harder to get the larger businesses on, knowing that they have a greater propensity to bring in more revenue through their schedule. Okay. We're all aware of the many executive orders that have come out over the last 2 years, including the EO 14240. I've got the link there, and it's basically focused on consolidating procurement. Just to kind of run through what it covers is making GSA more or less kind of going back to what it's originally designed for, is to more or less push procurements through the GSA schedule. And the GSA schedule, just think of it as a vendor short list that allows the buyers that are purchasing off of it to know that the companies listed on there have been vetted, their prices have been negotiated, and they're kind of, cleared for selling to the government. It's not required, but I'll get into that in a moment. Again, just the link to the Federal Register, which it would behoove you to at least be cognizant of that, as well as any updates. What does this mean for kind of where we are today in June 2026? Just means that that the government will and has started purchasing more through GSA schedules. You've probably heard of the FAR overhaul, FAR 2.0, the revolutionary FAR. It's, there's a lot of different slogans for what's happening with the FAR, but this also is going to be affecting GSA schedule purchases. While in the past 20 years, a lot of the companies that have come to us to get onto the schedule, we would typically turn away because we felt that they were a little bit too green, a little bit too naive about government contracting. They were just getting on the GSA schedule because GSA does a great job of marketing themselves, and a lot of companies are on the schedule just as kind of having that as a feather in their cap, but not really understanding how to execute and how to leverage it as a marketing tool. But now, because of these executive orders and what's happening in the shift in procurement, we are starting to say, hey, this actually might be something where you can roll the dice a little bit more, get onto the schedule, and try to push some of your customers that way, which they're already kind of being pushed that way through these executive orders. So hopefully that makes sense. In the past, like as I was saying, we kind of shied away from the build it and they will come, meaning get on the schedule and then cross your fingers and start your marketing and sales and business development. But now, because there is a shift to purchase more through the schedule, it can make more sense for you. But again, this is going to vary for your company, kind of based on where you are, your understanding of government contracting, what sort of team you have behind you, or resources, whether they're 1099s or consultants that you're using to help write proposals and help with the business development pieces of your business. Okay, so the basics. I've got quite a few slides. That's why I'm trying to keep the tempo a bit up. And if you have questions, type them into the chat, and I'll pause at some point to see if anything has come in. Okay, so as I mentioned, the schedule, it's a contract vehicle. It's absolutely not required. I'll repeat it. It is not required. You're still going to need to go out and market the fact that you do have a schedule. And if you're looking, and I've got a slide that has a visual that'll make some of this maybe make a little bit more sense, but the schedule is still only used a pretty small percentage of the time. The government's primarily purchasing through full and open competition. So when you see opportunities on sam.gov that are open to anybody's eyes or anybody that has an internet connection, that's typically where the government is buying. But it would behoove you to do some market research to understand how big is the market for your particular product, service, or software within the GSA schedule versus all the other ways that the government purchases. Being on the schedule, it's going to make the competition a little bit smaller, which is good because you want ultimately less competition. However, the companies that are on the schedule, everyone's been vetted on the same parameters, the same metrics. So you're going to be up against companies that also have past performance, that also have competitive pricing. So as I've got written here in that last bullet, the competition will be more fierce. So just keep that in mind. This is not because you're on the schedule, your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. You're just on a smaller list of vendors, so a vendor short list. We've got about 18 to 20,000 companies that hold a GSA schedule, and more than half of them have zero sales through their schedule. Oh my, how did that happen? So what happened was either somebody sold them something that they did not need, or they decided again to roll the dice and say, hey, let's get on the schedule, and then we'll figure out how to do the marketing, the business development, and the sales, which is a little bit backwards. You're so lucky to be selling into the federal market or any public sector market where you've got access to public data. You can go back and look at what the government has purchased for the last however many fiscal years you want to go back, which would be a smart thing to do. That way you can look at the trends for what the government is purchasing for whatever it is you're selling. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Did COVID affect it? Did COVID increase what it is you're selling? And then as far as the current FAR overhaul and things that are happening within the current administration, is that encouraging more sales of whatever your solution is, or is it decreasing? So I would look at those trends of data going backwards, again, looking at previous sales, but then also you want to look at budget forecast. And there's no other market like the public sector where you have access to this free data. So use the data to make decisions. Sorry, there's a little bit of a tangent on why a lot of these companies that are on the schedule do not have sales, but again, just the important piece there is to do your homework to find out how does the government purchase your particular solution, and are they using a GSA schedule to do so? Other basics about the schedule, pricing is the biggest component. You have access also to the other schedule holders. Who are the other companies that are selling what it is you sell? Are they small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub-zone, large businesses that you can potentially partner with? What are their prices for their program managers? What are their prices for their widgets or for their software, whatever it is they're selling? And how do you compare to that? These would be important things to determine before you decide to get onto the schedule. You've also got some post award price restrictions, and a lot of that depends on how you're pricing, what your pricing model is. Are you using commercial rates? Are you using commercial rates or other ways to determine your pricing, market rates? Some more basics here. The solicitation, somebody says, how do we get onto the schedule? Well, just like any other solicitation, you can hop over to sam.gov. There is absolutely no due date. It's an open and rolling RFP, request for proposal. You download the solicitation documents, there's quite a few, and complete them. So in the past, if anyone's on the line that has been in government contracting for a couple years, you will maybe remember that there used to be the PES schedule, that was Professional Engineering Services under GSA. There was also MOBIS, Mission Oriented Business Information Services is what that stood for. There was also AIMS, AIMS, that was Advertising and Integrated Marketing Services. Now, for several years now, everything has been consolidated under one MAS, multiple award schedule. Multiple award just means there's multiple companies that have been awarded the schedule. Again, not guaranteed any sales. You're still going to have to fight for the sales, write proposals, deploy your business development, marketing, sales, capture tactics and strategies to win contracts through your schedule. So because there's one GSA schedule, throughout the heartbeat, we'll say, of this schedule, GSA has made updates to the solicitation. Those updates show up as what's called refreshes. They are currently on refresh 32. This just came out, I want to say like in the last 2 weeks or so. And the way that the GSA schedule is organized, think of it kind of like an outline. It's really the best analogy I can come up with. That there are 277 special item numbers. These are, think of them as categories, or how GSA organizes your products, services, or software. They have large categories and small categories, but not to get too far into the weeds, just remember that there's kind of 277 choices where your solution can fit. They have special item numbers for office furniture, for security equipment, for IT professional services, for software, for engineering services, et cetera, et cetera. So you would most likely, after you download the solicitation, you'll download the spreadsheet that has the list of the various SINs and find out where your solutions fit, and then ensure that you've got the right documentation and past performance for that particular SIN or SINs. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that. This is just kind of an example of some SIN numbers that exist. The 54151S is IT professional services. And so the NAICS code that maps to is 541519. So these SINs are different from, but similar to your NAICS codes. So just keep that in mind. And then some other examples on there. Here's kind of what that looks like when you download the spreadsheet. I've highlighted in yellow the columns that you should really be paying attention to. So again, there's 277 choices. You can would be helpful maybe to do some keyword searches for whatever it is you're selling to kind of narrow down your choices, and then you'll revert back to the solicitation. Most of the SINs will require one past performance or a contract that you've worked on within the last 3 years that's relevant to the description that you see there in that. Hopefully you guys can see my cursor there in that column 3. So that, again, the columns highlighted in yellow are really what you want to pay attention to. Now, there are some exceptions. Some of these SINs will require additional documentation or an additional past performance. So again, you need to stay abreast of what has changed in refresh 32, and again, revert back to the solicitation documents. This is obviously a service that we provide, so we work with our clients to ensure that they meet, preferably exceed, the requirements. And on time, I think we're okay. Let me just pause and see here if there are any questions that have come in, and I'm happy to answer those. If not, I'll keep plugging along here. Alrighty, I'll take that as no questions. Okay.
Correct, Jennifer. No questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Lindsay. Okay, hopefully I'm not putting people to sleep here. It's not exactly the most riveting topic, but we will continue here to plug along. So who can use the schedule? The entire federal government can. Just because they can doesn't mean that they will or they
Jennifer,
should.
I just received a question. Do you want to hold them for Q&A or go ahead?
Bring it on, and if it's something I've covered, I'll be happy to answer. If it's something we have yet to cover, I'll save it.
Okay, excellent. So from Virginia, do the past performance references need to be from government contracts?
Short answer is no. We'll cover that in a minute when we get to the proposal. So thank you for the question.
And one more here that's coming in from Ram. Can you talk about GSA Fast Track?
Yep, we'll cover that at the end. Yes, thank you.
Okay, and that's it for now.
Super. Thank you, Lindsay. And thanks everybody for your questions. I appreciate it. Okay, so who can use the schedule? Again, the entire federal government. So quasi-government, meaning the UN, the World Bank, the IFC, the IMF, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Red Cross, some state, local, and education. For example, some of our IT professional services clients, we help them get onto the California Multiple Awards Schedule, which is CMAS, C for California, MAS for Multiple Awards Schedule. And once you're on the GSA schedule, getting onto CMAS or TexMAS, TXMAS, Texas, can be a smart thing, again, if you've got resources to help identify opportunities there. But just to know that the schedule kind of reaches far and wide. The benefit is it just simplifies the acquisition process for the government. They know that your prices have been compared to the other companies on the schedule. You've got the past performance. You've got the financial strength and the capabilities to maintain the terms and conditions of the contract. And again, as I mentioned before, the main focus is really going to be on price. So it does give you a little bit of respect here. I had to throw a little Rodney Dangerfield in there. And so once you're on the schedule, if you slap that GSA logo onto your website, onto the back of your business cards, into your email auto signature, it does kind of show that you're sitting at the big table with the adults. And that you've been vetted. It just gives you additional marketing exposure, and you will start to receive, you have to sign up for it, won't cost you anything, but the RFPs that are dedicated just for the GSA schedule holders within your special item number. Now, as you start to get these opportunity notices for the GSA RFPs, keep in mind, again, the competition is smaller, so there will be less eyeballs that are seeing these GSA opportunities. The only companies that can respond to them are companies that are on the GSA schedule, but you're going to be up against, again, companies that are somewhat of a level playing field, still some large businesses, companies that have similar pricing than you. So what's going to be the differentiator? It's going to be your relationship with the client. So just like when you see opportunities on sam.gov and you're like, wow, this was written for me. It probably wasn't unless you were in there for the last, let's say 9, 12, 18 months, working with the government to have that opportunity crafted. Same thing here on GSA, even more so just because it's kind of the 80-20 rule that 20% of the vendors are doing 80% of the work overall at GSA as a whole, but also within your special item numbers. So do the research, find out who are the big players within your special item number. What are the prices? Where have they won business? Are there ways that potentially you could partner or team with them? There's more than one way to, and I hate to say this, skin a cat because I do like animals. I need to find a better phrase there. So just keep in mind, again, that the GSA schedule, it is a marketing tool, but you're still going to have competition. Okay, so let's now talk about the process. So as I mentioned many times, you really want to conduct some homework and market research. Who is your customer? How do they purchase? And there's a variety of ways that the government can purchase, as we know. I just listed here, these are just very round figures. These numbers are going to be different for your specific product, service, or software, whatever it is you are selling. So full and open competition, that's again everything you see on sam.gov, where anybody with an internet connection can see those opportunities and respond to them. The department and agency vehicles, just to give you an example, NASA SOOP, Navy Seaport E, DHS Eagle, Army ITES, there's a plethora there. So again, conducting market research to find out how your ideal customer is purchasing would really be smart before just deciding, oh yes, we're going to get onto the GSA schedule. GSA schedule I've got on there at 12%, but this number is probably going to go up. Again, it could be very, very different for your product, service, or software. So make sure that you conduct this research before you decide to make a decision. Set asides, again, I know I'm not trying to go political or make any statements here, but these are also kind of in flux with some changes. So these would be the women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, A&A, Alaska Native, Hawaiian Natives, and all the other set asides that fall under that bucket. Simplified acquisition, these are going to be set asides for small businesses that are valued at $900,000 and 1.5 for construction contracts. Sole source, those are the contracts that are, you're the only person on the planet in the universe, multiverse, whatever we're calling it these days, that is able to provide this solution to the government. OTAs, other transaction authorities, these are kind of on the rise. That 2% is probably a little bit higher, but again, it's going to vary based on what it is you're selling and the agencies that you're selling to. This number should probably be a little bit higher. These would be the sales that are not that are $25,000 and below that are not showing up on sam.gov. These could be the credit card transactions, the P card for the government. So again, what I'm advocating for is do this homework to find out how the government purchases. Use the results that show up for your specific company here. These percentages are going to be different for your company. You should have dollar amounts next to them as well, and you can really drill down. And then use this to determine where you're going to deploy your time and effort, money, your resources. So if your percentage comes back that 90% of what you're selling, the government is buying through full and open competition, and GSA comes in at 1%, then you probably using that full and open competition, then maybe you want to use your time, effort, money, and resources to hire a BD capture kind of marketing person and a proposal writer. So use logic, use the data that's out there. There's no other sector that's going to have this much data for you to make decisions. You also want to compare your prices. I did talk about this over on, if you're selling professional services, I'd encourage you to go to buy.gsa.gov. And let's say you've got a project manager. This is just a quick example with a bachelor's degree, 5 years of experience. These are GSA averages. The GSA average price is $140. Let's say for you to be profitable, your price needs to be $200. You're probably not going to get it. GSA will negotiate you down to this $140 average. Do this homework before you decide to start downloading the GSA solicitation and start filling out the documents, because the worst thing to do is have GSA come into the negotiations and say, hey, well, the average price for all of your labor categories or your job titles is we need to, cut them all by 50%. And if that's going to put you out of business, and the GSA schedule is probably not right for you at this particular time in your business. You probably want to spend a couple years of kind of building up your rates, scaling your business, getting some processes in place, so that you are competitive and profitable on this schedule. And this is just more screenshots of kind of what that pricing looks like. If anybody, I think we are sending the slides out. If you need them quicker, you can just drop me an email to the email address that you see at the bottom. So what's happening within GSA, they are obviously making some changes and consolidating just the process into what's called TDR, transactional data reporting. And so these are data elements that the vendor, it's incumbent upon you to insert a lot of data to GSA on a monthly basis. So this will remove, if anyone's been following GSA for a while, it removes the commercial sales practices document, your most favorite customer, and basis of award. And then, so your homework here, again, is making sure that you meet, if not exceed, the basic requirements. And just because you do meet all of the requirements for GSA, it doesn't mean that this is going to bring you instant success or that it's actually a good fit. Again, you want to make sure that you've got a pipeline of opportunities, meaning people on the government side that want to purchase from you. So the process, you're going to map out a timeline, your compliance matrix, quality control, and submission. And I feel like I missed a slide on TDR because I did have something on the elements. Okay, here we go. Proposal components. This is just to make sure that you meet the requirements, and I'm going to leave time for Q&A. So 3 main components of the proposal: admin, technical, and pricing. Admin. You're going to include your financial statements, your last 2 full years. So 24 months of your balance sheet and income statement. Hopefully you're showing profitability. If not, then GSA will sometimes most likely send you the GSA standard form 527. This includes a bank reference. You've also got to submit the readiness assessment, pathway to success. Those are found over on the vendor support center, VSC, vendor support center.gsa.gov. Also within that administrative section, you've got your cover letter. Your SAM record should be current. You want to make sure that your FAR and DFARS, reps and certs are both completed. You've got your correct NAICS code and that your primary NAICS maps to your special item number. You also include your tax ID and your UEI, any authorized negotiators if anybody's helping you submit the proposal. If you've previously submitted a proposal to GSA and you've been rejected or had canceled schedules, you'll need to submit that paperwork too. Technical, and that's the administrative section. Technical, you've got your corporate narrative and quality control. There are GSA specific questions that you'll need to answer there. This is really your time to shine. So answer those fully, completely, tell them how great you are, what sort of quality control processes you have in place, how you handle multiple projects at the same time. Again, answer their questions, use the allotted space to answer those. If you've got experience directly with the government, meaning you've been a prime contractor, then you should have some CPARs that are relevant and recent. I would submit those. Otherwise, you will submit the questionnaire that's within the solicitation documentation. 3 of those for your special item number. The project narratives that you'll submit, meaning just your past performance that are mapped to the SINs, you'll need a copy of the contract. Within that contract, you want to make sure it has the dates, signatures from both parties, the dollar amount, and the statement of work. Your project narratives do not need to be government past performance. If you have a contract with 7-Eleven, McDonald's, your local church, an association, ABC company, Northrop Grumman, it doesn't matter. Past performance is past performance. You just want to make sure that the work that you've done in that contract or contracts map to the special item number description. The special item number description, again, is that list of the 277 special item numbers, that 3rd column that I had highlighted in yellow. I'm happy to email that current list to anybody if you want. Again, just send an email to me. In the event that you're selling products, if you are not the manufacturer, then you'll need a letter of supply from the manufacturer. You want to make sure that the products are in agreement with or in alignment with the Trade Agreement Act. So products that are being manufactured in North Korea, China, Russia, Argentina, Malaysia, Thailand. There's a list of countries that these products cannot be manufactured in. You want to make sure, again, that the products that you're selling do not interfere with that. And TAA countries will be updated as world events evolve and change. So just make sure that you're cognizant of that and that you have a policy in place within your company to monitor those changes. Same with Ability One, which is part of Unicor, part of Department of Justice prison systems. Whatever Ability One is making, your company cannot make, or at least cannot put onto the GSA schedule. Again, this is for product companies only. If you're selling services, you also want to include your HR plan for overtime and compensation. And there's specific language around what you need to include there. Okay, pricing, as I watch the clock, I think we're still good. So again, when the government's purchasing from you through the schedule, they know that you're on this kind of vendor shortlist, you've been vetted, you've got past performance, your prices are similar to the other companies on the schedule and competitive. So the components for your actual proposal, for your submission to GSA, you're either going to have a labor category matrix or product listing. Again, all of these documents can be found in the GSA solicitation, which again is over on sam.gov. Refresh 32 is the current refresh number that they're on. You'll include your price list. You're either using commercial or market rates, and your economic price adjustment, how your prices will be increased through your schedule year after year. You'll need backup documentation, invoice justification. Again, invoices, just like your past performance, does not need to be government. So if your invoice is from McDonald's, 7-Eleven, your local church, an association, a nonprofit, those can certainly be used. So you need to show that you've sold these products, services, or software in the past. Again, past performance and invoices do not need to be government or with a prime or state and local or anything. An invoice is an invoice is an invoice, and also a contract is a contract is a contract. You'll then complete the price proposal template, the terms and conditions, which is an Excel spreadsheet, a statement on why you believe your prices are fair and reasonable. And that's really just based on the competitive analysis that you did back on the previous websites that I was on for buy.gsa.gov and gsaadvantage.gov if you're selling software or products. So just again, basics here, ensure that your rates are competitive with others. And I would do this before you decide to get onto the schedule. Here's the information for TDR. I think I just put it in the wrong spot. Transactional data reporting. This is really kind of post-award where a lot of this, well, these are the pieces that are now not required that used to be required for many, many years. Here's the data elements for product and services companies for TDR reporting. And again, this is incumbent upon the vendor to report. Here's kind of what that looks like post-award. So you're going to have some back office compliance reporting to do. And you'll see kind of here what that looks like over on the FAS site. Here's some timelines, and I'm going to wrap up pretty quickly here. So if you're, again, deciding is the schedule right for me, do you even have time to submit the proposal? Do you want to work with a company like us to help you get onto the schedule? That administrative section, give yourself 1 to 2 weeks, assuming that you're the CEO of your company or you're maybe the BD or proposal writer for your company. And so during, especially this time of year, you're probably writing a lot of proposals. And so you're doing this kind of in the evenings and or weekends. I'm not saying it's going to take every day, 24 hours a day for 1 to 2 weeks. I'm just kind of saying as you're juggling other life and business, 1 to 2 weeks, technical about the same, 1 to 2 weeks. Again, this is going to vary if you're going after one special item number versus, 5. Your pricing is really where you'll probably get into the weeds a little bit, particularly conducting that investigation to find out who within your, looking at the pricing within your special item number and looking at the labor categories there. I'd also either encourage somebody to come in, either step away from the computer for, I don't know, 24, preferably 48, 72 hours, come back in with fresh eyes, look at your proposal, make sure that you've got your proposal checklist, that you meet, exceed all the requirements, or get somebody with, like us to come in and make sure that, again, that you've have a competitive and compliant proposal. So 6 to 8 weeks, more or less. Again, it can really vary based on the complexity of your pricing, the complexity of your offer, the number of special item numbers, and some other factors. You submit your offer, and then usually, again, do a quality control review there just to make sure that everything that you had kind of on, I shouldn't say on paper. I feel like nobody uses paper, but within any sort of Google Doc or whatever kind of drive you're using is correct, and then that it got translated into the GSA offer appropriately. You may get a financial request from GSA. You've got about 2 weeks, I think it is, maybe 10 days to get that flipped back to them. The sooner you get it back to them, the more that they're going to see that you're motivated to kind of push your schedule through. And typically the financial requests will come if your financials are not strong. At that point, you may want to consider even getting onto the schedule if you're not showing, if you're not a profitable company at this point, It's probably not in your best interest unless you've got two or three um, opportunities from the government that are, really ready to kind of pull the trigger. GSA will eventually come back and ask for kind of a Q&A session, which is what they call clarifications. This is usually an email. Sometimes they'll email you on Monday. They want their answers on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. If you get their answers to them on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., again, they're going to see that you're motivated, and they will most of the time try to hustle then to work with you to push it through just as fast. And sometimes there's multiple rounds of kind of this Q&A period. So it can take a week, it could take a month, it could take a little bit longer, just depending upon how messy or not your submission is. Once you answer and satisfy all of their questions, they will move to the negotiations. And this again typically happens over email. They will ask for additional discounts on each and every single line item most of the time, as well as prompt payment and volume discounts. So you don't want to give away everything up front with your proposal. You want to make sure that you've got something left there for the negotiations, and don't be afraid to counter offer. This could take a week, 2 days, 3 days, or depending upon just the tempo of the person you're working with at GSA, it could even take a month. We've seen it all. Once the price negotiations are satisfied and everything has been agreed to as far as the terms and conditions, GSA will send over what's called the FPR, Final Proposal Revision. This is actually a letter. You sign it, date it, gets submitted through your GSA e-offer, and then GSA signs it, and you've got your heartbeat and your schedule has been awarded. So take 2 seconds to celebrate, but then really the clock is ticking. You're off to the races. You're going to have to meet GSA's sales quota, which is $100,000 for the first 5 years, 125 for the next 3 5-year periods. So what's next? What I just mentioned here, there's the sales quota. So as long as you meet and satisfy all the terms and conditions with GSA, it's a 20-year contract. At the end of the 20 years, yes, you can apply and get back on. Oops.
Is now a good time for a question, Jennifer?
Yeah, go ahead, bring it on.
Okay. Do you know the average current review time is for the government waiting in the queue? So I'm thinking, do you know what the average current wait time is waiting in the queue?
So you'll get a welcome letter within 24 to 48 hours. And then, really depending upon if you're going after one sin, then you've got, let's say, 10 labor categories versus you're going after 5 sins and you've got 120 labor categories under each of those. That's really kind of going to determine how quick or not. But I would say right now about 2 to 3 months, but again, it can vary. Also based on the special item number that you're pursuing and the number of contracting officers also that are working within that queue. So, and I think anyone out there that's in my shoes as far as other companies that are helping vendors get onto the schedule is you really don't want to give any timelines. It's almost impossible. So it's like shake that magic 8 ball and see what it says.
Okay.
Let me just wrap up here real quick with post award. So then you get your award. You want to put your GSA logo as far and wide, just to kind of highlight that you've got it. You want to go back to your pipeline, and hopefully here is where you're reaching back to people within the government that said, yes, we want to buy from you, specifically through your schedule. Don't forget, you do have that back office compliance component. Maybe that's a part-time person, maybe that's a 1099, maybe that's Streamline, maybe that's us to help you with that TDR reporting. You're also going to have GSA initiated modifications and your own modifications to add sins, add labor categories, add products, change your mailing address, whatever it is. And then basically just kind of that sales and marketing component. There's the link to our GSA schedule webinars that are on YouTube. And I'll just pause here on this slide and see what other questions have come in.
I think that has covered it. We have some comments. Rom says, will it be useful to have JCP for product sale certain procurement might require JCP certification. And then from Vic, it says, will be good to see that list you just mentioned, which I think you did mention where they can find the list right after that. So hopefully, if you didn't catch it then, we will definitely have a replay out. And feel free, Vic, to pop in the chat what list you're specifically asking about, and we can try to answer that.
Yep, I'm going to assume the list of the 277 special item numbers. Again, my email's at the bottom of the screen, so happy to send that spreadsheet over to anybody. But our main takeaways, and Lindsay, I know you and I kind of talked about, what am I really trying to convey here? I'm not trying to scare you with the requirements, pre-award or post-award, but you just want to make good business decisions. And again, you're so fortunate to be in the public sector where their data is out there and ready to be leveraged. So download the data, look at it, use that to make decisions on where you're going to spend your time, how you're going to spend your time, and if the GSA, if there's return on your investment, to get onto the schedule. So, have you actually read the terms and conditions, the solicitation? Do you know that you do meet, preferably exceed the requirements? Have you conducted any sales and marketing? Any of your potential prospects within the government told you that, yes, they want to buy from you through the schedule? If you don't kind of have that part of your pipeline, then you probably want to work on your sales, marketing, and BD, which again is kind of going to go back to downloading data and conducting research. How many companies have the same SIN that you want to pursue? What are their sales for the last 3 to 4 fiscal years? Who within the government are the biggest buyers within your special item number, and how much are they purchasing, and who are those purchases going through? Again, this is all public data. So use it again to benefit you to make decisions.
Okay, very good.
Okay. And I think another slide here. So just again, thank you to Streamline, Karen Long, Lindsay, and thanks to everybody that took time out of their day. Don't forget, we do have a networking event coming up on Monday evening in DC. You can meet with lots of DoD, HHS, plenty of sponsors. We've got a discount code, Streamline, and the registration link is there.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was a truly excellent presentation. We really appreciate your time and expertise. Such great insights today, and this was a true value add session. Our Government Contractor Chat complimentary Zoom webinar series takes place the third Wednesday of each month, excluding August and December from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay tuned for our July and September webinar topics. They will be announced soon. You can scan the QR codes on the screen to join our GovCon group and follow us for updates on upcoming events and new video releases. Thank you for your time today. We hope to see you in July.